Greetings everyone. For this week's DVD review, I'd like to talk a little bit about a set that came out a while ago, but that some of you may have seen around, some of you may have been curious about, so I thought we'd go in depth with it. Now, of course, television exploded in the 1950s with a huge selection of comedy, drama, and all kinds of cool stuff. But not a lot of shows from that era have kind of stood the test of time. Some of them do, obviously, you know, like The Honeymooners and I Love Lucy and stuff like that. Those will always be considered classics and always be considered just as entertaining today as they were back then because they were just really well done. But one show in particular has really stood the test of time phenomenally well. So much so that it keeps getting remade. There's been not one but two new TV series adaptations based on it, one in the 80s and then one a couple of years ago. And there's even been a feature film, and there's rumors now of another feature film in the works. I am, of course, talking about the granddaddy of all weird television, The Twilight Zone. And today we're going to be talking about Image Entertainment's most recent DVD release. Well, I say recent, but it actually came out a few years ago. Anyway, The Twilight Zone Definitive Collection, Season 1. Today, on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Now, the Twilight Zone Definitive Edition was put out by Image Entertainment. Image Entertainment put out another Twilight Zone set a few years earlier, which was just kind of a big collection of best of episodes. I mean, it was a massive collection. But fans really wanted to have a proper collector's edition of it, hopefully with extras. Are there any extras out there that would still exist? Who knows? Well, Image Entertainment certainly went to the trouble of finding out because this set is just phenomenal. There is so much stuff in this set. I can't even begin to, I can't possibly go into all of it in this video. Even if I do this as a really long video, it would just be, you know, just get the set and see for yourself. But okay, before I gush anymore, let's get to some actual information, shall we? Now, there was two versions of the Definitive Collection released, specifically of Season 1. There was one, it was just the discs, with all the, it's all the same content, but there's one with just the discs, the actual season itself. But then there's also this edition, which contains the Twilight Zone companion book. Now, before anyone freaks out and it's like, oh, that isn't available anymore? I would love to get that. Well, yeah, totally. I mean, it's nice to have it all together like that. But the good news is the companion book is actually available separately. So if you just want to get the book and you already have the DVDs, you can find the book around if you hunt around a little bit. But, so if we slide it out of the big box here, we have the book, and we have the DVD. Now this is basically what's usually available, like what you usually find. I think the version with the book was a limited edition. We just happened to luck out and got it when it was fairly new. They hadn't even released the other seasons at that point. Maybe Season 2, but yeah. So this is what's normally available, is just the version with the discs. And the box basically just fits the box within the box. So there you go. So it's slightly oversized, but it's not too snug. Everything fits nice and neatly. So the Twilight Zone companion book gives you tons of information, complete episode guide with behind the scenes info and everything, and it's just fantastic. I mean, if you're a fan of the original Twilight Zone series, this book is absolutely invaluable. It is as close to a definitive guide as I've ever seen. I mean, it's just absolutely fantastic. So, what's on the discs? There's a lot of stuff on the discs. Let's just pick a random disc here. I mentioned extras. Here, disc 3. Okay, disc 3. There we go. Now, they have released all 5 seasons, by the way, in case you're wondering. I'm not sure if they're still in print, but I think they are. You might just have to hunt around a little bit. So if we take a look inside, it's just a simple slim case with the disc. I'm not going to bother showing you all 5 because they're all basically the same, fairly simple. They just have this little still shot from the opening title sequence. Each season had its own title sequence, so they kind of used that on the covers to differentiate the seasons. So what's on here in terms of extras? Well, first off, the episodes. This one has episodes 16 through 22. So we have The Hitchhiker, The Fever, The Last Flight, The Purple Testament, Elegy, Mirror Image, and The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, which is one of the all-time favorites. Now, in terms of extras, The Hitchhiker has an isolated score. The Purple Testament has an isolated score. Elegy has an isolated score. Mirror Image has an audio commentary by Martin Milner and the isolated score. Now, The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street being one of the big episodes, they went all out with the extras on this one. They have a bonus feature of the Twilight Zone radio drama adaptation, and the isolated score, and the phone is ringing. Okay, I'm back. Now, at first you might be thinking, oh, isolated scores, that's kind of cool, but not really meaty in terms of extras. The thing that's cool about the isolated scores is a lot of famous movie composers actually did the music for this. Like, for example, let me see if I can find a couple of other examples here. Yeah, the very first episode, Where Is Everybody, also has an isolated score by Bernard Herrmann. Now, Bernard Herrmann did a lot of music for Hitchcock movies, the most famous one probably being Psycho. So he did a lot of music for the Twilight Zone. There's another one on here with, actually Bernard Herrmann did a lot of Twilight Zone soundtracks, but there's another one, where is it here? Leonard Rosenman did the soundtrack for And When the Sky Has Opened, and that has an isolated score. Jerry Goldsmith did the music for The Four of Us Are Dying. Jerry Goldsmith, who most of you probably know as the guy who did the music for most of the Star Trek movies. He composed the Star Trek The Next Generation theme and stuff like that. I mean, the guy's been around. But that's just a small example. I mean, there is a lot of notable composers here. Now, if we dive a little bit more into the extras, there's a ton of audio commentaries. There's episodes of the Twilight Zone radio drama that recreate the individual stories. Like, for example, One for the Angels has the Twilight Zone radio drama adaptation starring Ed Begley Jr. It's very cool. You've also got excerpts from Rod Serling lectures where he talked about writing for television and things like that. What else do we have here? The 6th disc is actually all bonus material. Let me just give you the quick rundown here. We have the original pilot version of Where Is Everybody, the very first episode, which has an alternate narration by Rod Serling, audio commentary by producer William Self, and Rod Serling discussing the episode in a 1975 lecture at Sherwood Oaks College. You've got a sales pitch that Rod Serling did for selling Twilight Zone to a network in the Netherlands, where he appeared behind bars. You can probably barely see that there. He did the pitch from a jail cell, which is kind of cool. You got some Rod Serling bloopers, you got photo galleries, you got another radio drama of The Lonely, you've got intros to various episodes by the show's commercial sponsors, you got clips from the Emmy Awards where Rod Serling won for Best Writing and Cinematography, and you got an issue of the 1963 Twilight Zone comic book in PDF format. And I haven't even finished going through all the extras. That's just a sampling. Okay. Now, Image Entertainment, that's their logo there. Image Entertainment is a company that I was not unfamiliar with and who I have enjoyed their releases for many years. That's not even a proper sentence, but you know what I meant. Image Entertainment first came to my attention on Laserdisc. I still have a lot of Laserdiscs that were put out by Image. And the thing about Image was you always knew you were getting the best possible quality for whatever the material was, that they would have gone back to the best elements and done the best transfers and given you the best quality product they could. That was kind of their thing on DVD, was just really high quality, on Laserdisc, really high quality transfers on Laserdisc. On DVD they took it to the next level because almost every single one of their sets not only has stunning picture and sound, but loaded with genuinely fascinating extras. And the Twilight Zone Definitive Collection is no exception. So if you're a fan of the original series, and I mean, I don't think I know anybody who doesn't at least have a passing familiarity and respect for the original Twilight Zone, because it was just a fine example of truly innovative, original, and just incredibly entertaining television. I don't know that there's really been much in the history of television that has had the same impact as the Twilight Zone. I mean, it's almost a part of our modern day vernacular now. It's like when something weird happens, you think of it as a Twilight Zone moment, or, you know, you find yourself in a situation where things are just unusual, and it's like, whoa, looks like I'm in the Twilight Zone, you know? It's just become a part of our daily lives, and I don't know very many other TV shows that have had that kind of impact. So, the Twilight Zone Definitive Edition. If you are looking for the definitive edition of the Twilight Zone, then the definitive edition is truly the definitive edition. You won't be disappointed. And I mean, it's the kind of show you can just watch over and over again and find something different in it all the time. And if you don't find the edition with the book, track down the book, because it's an invaluable resource. While we've been watching the set, I've been referring to the book and getting little insights and such as we go. Be careful to avoid the spoilers of the twist endings, of course, because that's all part of the fun in the Twilight Zone. Alrighty, so that's it from me to you for now. Twilight Zone Definitive Edition. Get it! It's awesome! See you next time, folks. Until then, thanks for watching, and sayonara.